14th Big Debate. So today we are debating the motion, Feminism Hurts Women. Firstly, let's find out about you guys. Hands up if this is your first ever big debate. Loads of big debate versions. Okay, hands up if you've been to a big debate before. Okay, so I'll quickly run through the format. The format is, first everyone will vote. In our first vote, I'll tell you how to do that. And then we'll have the frontliners, the against team and the for team, coming and giving uninterrupted opening statements. So that means nobody's allowed to interrupt. 4 minutes each, they're prepared, uninterrupted. Then we open into a full-scale debate phase. My apologies, we're starting 10 minutes late, a little bit wet, we're still waiting for one more frontliner. So the rebuttal stage, we'll just scrap it and get straight into the open stage. But you guys will have lots of time. I will be your moderator for this evening. My name is Liam McManus. I am the founder of Big Debates. And then in the open full-scale debate phase, you guys can ask questions, can shout stuff, can say whatever you're feeling, can do whatever you like. Then there'll be a quick little break and then we'll go back into it. And there'll be closing statements from a frontliner and one of you guys for and against the motion. Then there'll be a second vote in the side that changes the most minds will win. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Yes!
Okay. The motion is Feminism Hurts Women. You can be for the motion, against the motion, or undecided. So everyone can take out your mobile phones now. If you get into WeChat, if you haven't got my WeChat, you can scan me. And find my little face, it's Liam Eifel-Schwein.
Yeah.
And you can vote one word for, against, or undecided. For, against, or undecided. One word. No more than one word, no jokes. Just for, against, or undecided. Anyone need help? Okay, hands up if you've voted already. We've got a few voters in the room. Hands up if you've already voted. You've already voted. We're still working out, some of us. Still coming in. Okay, hands up if you've not voted. If you've not voted, hands up. You guys can vote. You don't confirm?
Oh, we can vote?
You can?
We can vote?
Probably won't make
Everyone gets a vote apart from me.
Unless you're going to be tactical.
Apart from me. Okay, so let's get into our frontliner opening statements. 4 minutes, uninterrupted. Oh, and we have a bell. This is Bruce. Everyone say hello, Bruce. Bruce is a legend. He's also got the worst job in the house. He's ringing the bell. And he's telling everyone to shut up at the right time. So for the front lines, he's telling them to shut up after 4 minutes. And the bell sounds like this. It's a little bit broken. Let's go again. It's had better days, that bell. And at 3.5 minutes, he'll give you guys a 30-second warning. And that will be, you've got 30 seconds to wrap it up and get off. Okay. So, first up, arguing for the motion, Feminism Hurts Women. Uninterrupted 4 minutes, we have Helena, who is from the UK. Her father's family came to England after fleeing a communist regime. She's grown up with a strong interest in authoritarianism and the social implications of living under tyrannical dictatorships. Helen.
Hi everyone. Before I start the presentation, I want to have a bit of a preamble. And I want to tell you all that I actually used to identify as a feminist. I won't go into how I kind of believe in the notion, but basically I stopped being a feminist about 3 years ago. And if there are any feminists in the room right now, I urge you to stop being a feminist just for 30 days, okay? You are, when you give up feminism, you are free, you feel happier, you feel lighter, you will become more libertarian, because you are not under this omnipresent force that is the patriarchy. It just does not exist, okay? I'm happier now, I'm more free, I'm more free-spirited, my soul feels better, I make more money now, because I don't believe that I'm oppressed. I'm not a victim anymore. I don't wallow in my own victimhood. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so I don't know if I can go through all of this, so I only have 4 minutes, but in my opinion, there are 2.5/3 pillars that prop up the house of cards that is modern feminism. Myth number 1, 35% of women who visit the ER do so because of domestic violence. Utter bollocks. Utter bollocks. This figure comes from 550,000 women who enter the ER through violence-related injuries, and the 35% figure is from that. That makes the figure of women going into the ER for domestic violence 190,000, not 14 million like the feminists claim, which makes the actual percentage less than half of 1%. This is a dangerous myth to tell young women, okay? If you tell women that 35% of women visit the ER because they've been hit by their partner, they will never have a boyfriend. They will never get married. They will cower in front of men. This is horrible to tell young women. It's a horrible thing to tell young women. Myth number 2, 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted in college. If you have not heard this myth by now, you have been living under a rock. Joe Biden has repeated this. Barack Obama has repeated this. This comes from a survey that was conducted online. No one's claims were verified. The terms of assault were not defined. And it even included things like forced kissing as rape, okay? It's not 1 in 5. The Bureau of Justice says it's 1 in 52, okay? Myth number 3, I am not even going to insult your intelligence with myth number 3, because I will be the millionth person to debunk it today. Next slide, please. Make feminism great again. As you can see, feminism is a failed movement. 7% of Brits identify as feminists and 18% of Americans identify as feminists. If this was any other political movement, the politicians would go back and they would rewrite their manifesto. Feminists have not done this, so I have done it for them. Make feminism great again, number 1. Acknowledge the real plight of women outside of the West. According to UNICEF, 200 million women have undergone FGM who live in the world today. Can I have a quick show of hands if you do not know what FGM is? Who does not know what FGM is? Okay. FGM is female genital mutilation. It's where they cut off your clitoris so you can find a husband. That is 200 million women who have undergone it today. Where are the pussy hat marches? Where is that it?
20 seconds.
20 seconds, okay. Where are the demonstrations? Where are the partitions? Where are women in the streets protesting this figure? Okay? Acknowledge the real plight of women outside of the West. Number 2, accept that given total freedom in a free society where the cards fall where they may, different groups of people will make different life choices. That's just a fact. Different things make different people happy. I'm sorry, feminists, but not every woman wants to go into STEM. Some women like working in aesthetics. Some women like working in nursing. Some women like working in nurturing professions. that do not involve STEM. If you want to go into STEM, I think that's fantastic and you should, okay? But do not feel forced just to make up figures. Number 3, make feminism, how long do I have left? Make feminism a relatable movement. If I hear Jennifer Lawrence say one more time, I only earned 52 million for my last movie and Bradley Cooper earned 57 million, I will throw Twitter at the fucking wall, okay?
Okay, thank you, Helen. Ian, make the bow hand stand there. Make the bow hand stand there. So it's an uninterrupted 4 minutes. If you agree with something, you can do a clap. You can clap, but no interruption. Okay, first up, arguing against the motion, we have Sheena Shi. She's from Zhejiang and she works for a small in-house council and practices belly dancing. Sheena.
Oh, sorry, I just want to say I'm so nervous right now. It's my first time ever being here. I didn't expecting that exactly all the speakers are native speakers, so I'm so sorry. I won't use very complicated words because I can't. So I hope you can really understand me, what I say. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. It's already connected? Okay, so sorry. Exactly 38, Margaret Brand said from England to Maryland, a new cloning. At that time, women were often sheltered behind their fathers and husbands, but this did not apply to her. She secured land patent, she provided loans for new immigrants, she appeared in court when borrowers default. She also represented other colonists, mostly women. Actually, she is the first female attorney of the United States. Then the Civil War broke. The governor had to hire some soldiers to fight for her. He also raised rent as his sole executor before his death. However, his assets couldn't cover the amount owed to the outrageous soldiers. So Grant bravely standing in front of the assembly and asked for 2 votes. But the new governor denied her right to vote. She had to use the power of attorney and sold assets to pay the soldiers. Although she probably saved the colony from being ravaged, her career here ended. Then we transfer to 1920, following the Lonely Path Grant feud. The American Women's Suffrage Association, a famous first-wave feminism organization, finally got U.S. women the right to vote. This year, U.S. passed the 19th Amendment. Then the second feminism rise, we got this liberal feminist, we got this radical feminism, and we also got this Marxist socialist feminist. Then it also came to, oh, I'm so sorry. Even the paper, okay. Then it came to the third one. They are more than willing to accommodate diversity and change. For them, different is the way things are. Sorry for this boring introduction of feminism, and then we come to the core part. Yes, we can see that after Brand planted the seed, 272 years passed before women even granted the right to vote. Then nearly another century passed before a woman became the first female president nominee. Pitifully, 760 years after Brand first climbed her right in front of the boys' club, women still lost on the way to the top. Don't mention there's still a world of women struggling there for their quality, freedom, and even for their life. And I believe my dear teammate will introduce more information about this part. Okay, so feminism as a collection of social theories, political movements, and moral philosophies help to achieve a gender-balanced society. It develops as the society develops. In some places, yes, women are rich, confident, and they are no longer weaker than. But in other places, they still need this feminine stuff. Yes, I'm here to say, and will say again and again, that feminism did not hurt women. They helped to develop new social concepts. They helped to develop women's life, and in that way, they also helped men. I cannot say that there's no shitty crap happened during the long period, just as my friendly opposing party just mentioned and will repeatedly mention this whole night. But trust me, that you won't stop using the highway just because there's this teeny tiny possibility that you will hit by a reckless driver. Sorry.
Thank you, Sheena. Also, we've got a little black line here in front of us. It doesn't mean you have to stand on it. It's just there as like the optimal point. But we love it when you walk around and you do some stuff, you do a bit of this. That's all great. It's just there as like an optimum point. Okay. Second up, arguing for the motion, we have Lydia Weber. She's from Austria and a language acrobat and southpaw. She's ginger by nature. Her biggest dream is to meet Conor McGregor and duel him in a whiskey challenge. Lydia.
Okay. First of all, you're not the only one who's nervous. It's okay. Try. Okay. My slides, please. So, this is the first time I'm speaking here, and why am I doing this? Last time I saw the topic and I thought, kind of what Trump recently said, the world is going to hell, and I saw the topic and it was, feminism hurts women, and I thought, hell yes. But I've extended the topic a little bit. I would say that 21st century feminism. So I'm narrowing it, but also I'm extending it by saying hurts women and men through double ethical standards. So then I have a little quote here. Maybe you can see it clearly, so I'll read it for you. Pat Robertson said, feminism is a socialist, anti-family political movement that encourages women to leave their husbands, kill their children, practice witchcraft, destroy capitalism, and become lesbians. So, to be honest, I've read a lot about radical feminism in these weeks, and yes, well, they encourage women to become lesbians, and they want to rip families apart to create new family structures, but I doubt it would work out. I mean, we can discuss about it, but yeah. So I'm from Austria, and I was interested in how feminism evolves in Austria, basically, so I pulled up a few dates. Actually, women were allowed in the 19th century to go to university. In 1918, they got the right to vote, which isn't bad. I think there are countries where women got this right way later. Then, since 1973, abortion is legal up to the 10th week of pregnancy. So, you have the right to decide over your body. But, at the same time, while feminism evolves, I would like to say that it discriminates more and more against men. And how does it do this? So it gives women more and more rights, while men are called, well, patriarchs. They are mean to women, they rape women, they beat women, I don't know, they do everything to suppress them. But I don't think it's true, because the more rights women get, the lower men shrink somehow. And you can see this, for example, in Austria, there's military service. Well, boys. So girls don't have to do this. So after you finish your high school, boys need to do military service or a social. It's called voluntary, but it's actually not. So they have to do this year where they help old people, disabled people, whoever. Women don't, so they get an advantage in education. They are earlier to get jobs, whatever. Also, men have to work 5 years longer than women do, while women usually work less or shorter periods of time. So, great, take 5 years of men's lives. Thank you very much. Then, job quotas. Women have to be preferred to male applicants if they are equally qualified, or, well, better, if they are better qualified, then yes. But there was a case when at university entrance examinations, the quota for females had to be higher than the quota for men. So I ask you, is this fair? No, it's not. So I think, well, feminism should focus more on equal rights than on pushing women, and then neglecting men completely. That's my opinion, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lydia. Ian, shall I go? I want to try and get this door closed so it's a bit. Ian, make sure the door is closed when they're speaking. So we keep it nice and everyone can hear what's being said. Alright, second up, arguing against the motion, feminism hurts women. We have Maggie Lavoie is American and a member of a women's only football club, a women's only gym, and on the board of a women's leadership network. In her previous life, she was a feminist galactic warrior. Maggie.
Okay, everyone ready? Yep. Okay, so my time will start now. I want to begin this speech by a favorite quote from my mother, which is, "Here's to strong women. Let us be them, let us know them, let us raise them." If you agree with that, then you're a feminist and you're on our side of the debate. Now let's clarify a few things. First of all, what is this debate about? It's about whether feminism hurts women or not. So, one, you cannot win this debate by saying feminism's bad or feminism disadvantages men. That's outside of the parameters of the debate. We absolutely don't have to address that. We will, though, don't worry. Number two, in order for something to constitute harm, let's talk about the value criteria here. The value criteria for something to constitute harm means it must constitute emotional, psychological, or physical damage to women in a significant way. Okay, so now that we have that clarified, number three, we are talking about how the benefits of feminism outweigh the disadvantages, so we need to talk about feminism on the whole. So the entire previous speaker's speech about radical feminism doesn't necessarily need to come into this debate. They can't cherry pick examples about radical feminism, right? We are talking about feminism on the whole. Just because there are people slashing Hummer tires and blowing up buildings in the name of the environment, does that mean that everyone should stop supporting the environment? Absolutely not. We are talking about the largest magnitude of feminism there is. Now, let's talk about what are feminism's main goals. We've heard a lot about man-hating. That's absolutely not what feminist goals are. Women's lives are intrinsically related to men. We can never separate ourselves from men. And so, we have to interact with them, work with them, love them, be partners with them, be friends with them. Something that's bad for them is also bad for us. The women's rights movement absolutely does not seek to disadvantage men in any way. Let's put it simply. We're talking about giving something extra. If you have a piece of bread and someone doesn't have a piece of bread, is giving another person a piece of bread taking any bread away from the other person? Absolutely not. We support both men and women. Now, let's talk about a few things. A few things that feminism has done for us. Change has not happened organically. If you're a woman sitting in here today and you in your country, you're allowed to vote, you're allowed to be educated, or you're allowed to leave the house, own property, have your own money, have your own bank accounts, then you can think of feminists. Okay, so let's move on to our next thing is the opposition said that women got the right to vote in 1918, I know in Germany in 1918, in US in 1919, and she said it's not that bad, and we agree, okay, it's not that bad, but what is bad is we're even trying to rationalize why women couldn't vote for hundreds of years after men could, and we're also trying to rationalize the fact that it took us 70 years, the suffrage movement started 70 years before women even got to vote. Now, let's move on to a few other contentions here, just about, let's address Okay, let's address the wage gap is what I want to say. So we have two responses about this. So even if the wage gap, so let's say that women aren't paid less, which actually we know isn't true, that the US Department of Justice has confirmed this, the UN has confirmed this, Fortune magazine has confirmed this, lots of places have confirmed this and can see that this is true, but let's say it didn't. Let's say we're all paid the same, fine. What there is a difference in, it's not monetary, it's an employment wage gap. Why do we see women constitute 30% of lawyers, 28% of doctors, 6.4% of female CEOs in Fortune 500 are CEOs in Fortune 500 companies. 20% of board seats in American and European corporations are filled by women. 10 women in the entire world out of 195 countries are women who are the heads of state, right? Obviously, there's a problem we see here today. Okay, so lastly, we want to just move on to the fact that feminism does not hurt women. It's improved so many things in terms of body image, in terms of empowering women, in terms of empowering women and daughters to want to seek to do things that are just like everyone else. We say we promote equality, we don't hate anyone. Feminism wants wage equality, we want equality for all people, we want fairness, we want to support all social justice movements, and that's why we should win this debate.
Thank you, Maggie. Ian, okay, and finally, arguing for the motion, feminism hurts women. We have Lars Wagnes, right?
Actually, it's Wagnes, but I don't think it sounds that properly.
Lars Wagnes, perfect for me, is Norwegian and the founder of Nesuku, a language learning company. Lars grew up in Angola. Lars.
Alright, so before we get started, I just have to admit I come painfully unprepared. But I thought I would use this opportunity after I have sort of laid out my vision of what this debate should be about to actually get some feedback from the audience, because I would like you to help us steer this debate. So, my first point is essentially that gender equality, which I think most of us can get behind, meaning that boys, girls, men and women should be ensured equal rights and equal opportunities. Right? And there is oftentimes a false equivalency between feminism and gender equality. And these things are not the same. The feminist movement tends to be more focused on the equity of outcomes rather than the equality of opportunity. And so, essentially, if you look in the Western world, you'll see that there is no institutionalized discrimination against women in terms of policy. As my fellow frontliner mentioned earlier, we saw that there was actually, in fact, institutionalized policy that discriminates against men, like the draft, for instance. You know, you send off young kids to Vietnam in the 1970s, all of these 18-year-olds die from like napalm and all this kind of shit, Agent Orange. That's not, you know, if that's not discriminating against the sex, then I don't know what is. So essentially, if there is no institutionalized discrimination against women, and the feminist narrative is all this about the patriarchy suppressing women, holding them down, and that in order to achieve their goals and for women to be emancipated, they need to conquer and we need to together kill this patriarchy, then I think that begs the question, what kind of psychological damage does that do to women? If you are told that in order to achieve your goals, there is some omnipresent force that is suppressing your ambition and basically hindering you from reaching your goals. I think that is a very, very damaging thought to be communicated to young women. And the result is that it puts your women's autonomy and agency in question. Essentially, if you want to achieve something, are you going to achieve it because you choose to, because you actually seek out the challenges and you conquer them on your own? Or do you have to wage a war on the patriarchy, men who will rape you, kill you, and suppress you, put you down. Personally, I think that's enough, actually, to just prove that feminism today, and I'm not talking about historical feminism, I'm all for what they accomplished, but feminism today is damaging to women. And now, I would like, how much time do I have?
1 minute.
All right. Anyone have anything they want to comment? So they want to jump in?
It's your turn. It's your turn.
Yeah, it's my time, but I ran out. All right. I'm not sure with all the rules and regulations.
Give me the microphone.
All right.
Give me the microphone.
All right.
Okay, guys, as I was saying before, right, I'm sorry, but after this speech, I'm going to revisit the wage gap, okay? The wage gap does not take into account level of education, level in the company, hours worked. It does not take into account hours worked. When you control for all these factors, the wage gap vanishes to the point of nothing. It vanishes to the point of a few cents, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, I am enough of an egalitarian to know if I am being cheated out of a few cents, but it is not 77 cents, okay? Once a year, every April. This is why it's the motherlode of all myths, okay? Once a year, every April, there is equal pay day, and it's based on lies.
Okay. Okay, my bad. We should have kept with you there, Lars. We should have, and then we could go into the wage gap after. So, finally, my bad. Finally, arguing against the motion, feminism hurts women. We have Will Trayford. He's a British financial advisor and is player manager for the best seven-a-side football team in China. That's not because we play for the same team, it's genuinely the best team. Well.
So good that we often lose to teams with women in them, so I'm not sure that's about. Alright, so you might be wondering, okay, why is there a man standing up here debating for feminism? Okay? And basically I see myself supporting feminism, and I've just written this down because I think Maggie's mum puts it down perfectly. Okay? Here's the strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Okay? And that's why I'm here supporting feminism. Because of all the good that it does, and how it really helps women, it does not hurt them. Okay? But I can't stand here and tell you about all the hardships for women, of all the things that they have to go through, of how they can't go into a job interview and be treated as equal, or walk down the street and feel safe. I can't talk to you about that, because I can't understand that. I can't truly understand that. Okay? Because I was lucky. I was born in England, into a middle-class family. I was born white. I was born male. And quite frankly, I've never had to experience discrimination. So I can't truly be able to compare to that. But I think it's amazing that we're having this kind of debate when over, well, not even 100 years ago, women in the UK were not even allowed to vote. And yet we now have our second female Prime Minister. Think of the developments in 100 years. Those kind of changes have happened. And yet we're still having a debate about the good or bad of feminism. To me, that seems crazy. Okay, I mean, with all these leaps forward, I can understand why there will be people in this room that would dislike feminism. Especially if you're a male. Because quite frankly, you're sat there going, well, you know, feminists are getting this, they're making all these progresses, and suddenly me as a man, I'm stood there going, well, this is unfair. Suddenly, I'm not the favoured one. I'm not the one that actually should walk into a job. I'm not getting these preferences. Actually, that's not fair. She's getting more than I am. And I say, yeah, so what? Think of the amount of years that it's been balanced the other way. The amount of years that we have been going along, and if this is equality, that we've been going along steering towards the men all this time, and that feminism has caused a correction. And if we have to overcorrect a bit, so be it. Because in the longer term, we're looking for equality. And if you have to overcorrect to and end up going straight, then I think that's a good cause, quite frankly. Because at the moment, I think we're looking at really, really short-term effects, things that are not right. I'm not saying that feminism is perfect. There's a lot of bad things that are happening, and a lot of things that are not right. But for a moment, we have to zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and say, okay, over the long term, over the real long term, what has feminism done? What is it doing now? And what is it doing in the future? And for me, especially for women, and also for men, feminism helps. It definitely does not hurt women. Actually, I've got time. I do have a little footnote, sorry. We're going to concentrate a lot of statistics come out of the US, and a lot of statistics come out of Europe, okay? And I really want to make sure that we don't focus on US graduate intakes and US pay wage gaps and everything. We're in China, we're all international citizens. I bet we've got someone from every continent in the world here. And can we really say that in the Middle East and parts of Asia and Africa, that actually it's equal? I don't think so. Let's just try and take a world view on this, please, guys, while we're debating this tonight.
Thank you, Will. Okay, we now move into our open debate phase, where frontliners and you guys can all go at it. Let's go straight into the wage gap, the gender wage gap, because I feel that is bubbling. So, Helen, you had like an unfinished crack at that earlier, so we'll hand it over to this side. So let me just clarify what I believe the wage gap claimed to be. So the idea is, in Western countries, there is a difference in wages between men and women, and this side. Can I just clarify why you think that is? What is it? Employers discriminating against employees, or is it some sort of like society value which makes women not work as much? Did you want to just take on what you think it is? You can use the mic, or you can not.
Well, we've already addressed the fact that we don't really want to argue over how research was conducted to produce the wage gap, because we're willing to say that we'd rather spend our time arguing about more important things. So let's just concede and say women make the same amount of money. That's fine, but what needs to really be addressed is in the issue of women in employment. All of the statistics, I think I provided 7 statistics where women are underrepresented in leadership positions in employment, right? And so I think that's number 1, the biggest issue. Number 2, we say, if the wage gap has been closed, we say, so they concede that a big feminist issue on the feminist agenda is the wage gap, right? They concede that. And we say, yes, it is. And if it's closed, thank you, feminism. We should all be cheering. The reason why it's closed is feminism. Number 2, we also say that they still haven't responded to all of the different things about, to the disproportionality of men in leadership positions. We're not saying men are bad for it. Okay, and if I had more time, I have a Harvard Business School study that actually rationalizes and discusses why these things are true, and it has nothing to do with pointing the fingers or saying men are evil. It's a comprehensive analysis of different social factors about how we perceive the world and how we make assumptions about people. But we say we win on this point because even though there aren't enough women in leadership positions, that's why we need more feminism, and the reason the wage gap is closed, as they say it is because of feminism. So we win on both accounts here.
Okay, so, just to clarify, in this open debate phase, the frontliners have 2 minutes until the bell smashes them off, and you guys have 1 minute. So, in terms of contributions, if you want to make a point, that's great, or ask a question, but you've got 1 minute, so 1 point, just 1 point. So, following on from that, so this side seems pretty happy that the wage gap has closed, but that feminism is still needed to have more women in more leadership positions. Take it on this side.
Right, okay, so this is why people say that feminism is elitist. The average working class mother who is trying to put food on the table does not care that 6% of CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies are women. She does not give a shit, she's trying to feed her children. That's why feminism holds at 18% in the US, okay, and 7% in the UK, okay? They also do not care that 19% of Congress is women, which is a statistic that is constantly reported by modern day feminists. When, as I have said before in my opening statement, when you live in a free and liberal society where everyone is equal under the eyes of the law, where you let the cards fall where they may, people tend to make different life choices. Being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company takes away from your life. When you want to be the CEO of something like Microsoft or YouTube or Facebook or name any other company, you are going to have to work 80 plus, 100 plus hours a week, okay? Not just women, but most men do not, well, most people do not want to do that. Most people like to spend time with their friends. Most people like to spend time with their family, okay? It's just that the particular people who are willing to put in 100 plus hours a week in the office to be the CEO of Fortune 500 do tend to be men. I'm sorry if that's sexist, but it's just the way the cards have fallen. And maybe that will change, I don't know, maybe it won't, but it's just the way that we are right now, okay?
Does somebody disagree with that? Same point? Hands up if you disagree. You wanna
Which one?
bash it on. So, yeah, what Helen just said about men making and women making different choices, hence there's a different bias in leadership positions.
I have a question to ask.
Who disagrees with it first? Anyone just disagree?
I disagree with
You did. Oh, no, hands there. A genuine disagreement. Let's have it.
So you just want me to respond to...
Right.
Sure.
It's on. It's on.
Okay. So my main concern with that argument is one, what proof or statistics do we have to say that women do not want to be CEOs? Perhaps they have not been presented with the opportunity to be CEOs, and right now the assumption that you're making is you're asking a room full of people who are currently at a bar whether or not we want to be CEOs. And maybe that's not the best representation of why women should or should not be CEOs. That's just one argument that I would make.
Who wants to take that?
So, two things. The first is with respect...
1 minute.
So 1 minute. The first is with respect to the actual, it's nice to be able to try to dismiss the idea of equal pay as something that you don't want to talk about, but it's actually inextricably linked from the idea or the concept of executive leadership as well. Those statistics that you mentioned actually demonstrate as well that in our demographic, in our cohort, you actually see equalization, not a favoritism or out-earning of women than men in our demographic. Now, if one were to play this forward with the dimension of time involved in this, one would expect that this situation in terms of executive leadership might play itself out over time and course correct. Okay, if that doesn't happen quickly enough for you, you need to actually introduce equity into the debate. To introduce equity into the debate, you need to use force and coercion. And that's what this debate is really about when it comes down to. If you want to solve this now, today, and you want to change the actual proportions of executive leadership, and you don't want to let that play out in a marketplace of ideas or potential evaluation of conduct and or competence, you have to do so by force. And that's something that nobody's addressing. And I won't address my second point because there's no time.
Okay. Going to take that on? That sounded intelligent, there were some words I didn't understand in it, but...
Don't mind, I didn't understand half of it. The thing is, we're not going to agree on the gender pay gap. We know there's convincing statistics, and unfortunately, we're never going to really understand how, a CEO is very difficult. It's very difficult to judge how one gets to a top position in a company because there are so many steps along the way, and at what stage has there been or has there not been sexism involved. It's not like you're going in at a lower level job where it's literally you've got the same experience, we compare like for like. You can't really compare like for like when you get to that stage. But what we can say is, with this motion, is feminism hurting women in the statement of the pay gap? No, it's not. Feminism is not hurting women at all. It's giving them an equal footing. Maybe it's giving them an advantage, perhaps, but it's certainly not hurting.
Okay, do you want to take this on, sir? You can shout it out.
Can I just say that you just said that feminism corrected the pay gap, and I would say that the free market corrected the pay gap. the point about the free market is that the best person wins. It's a meritocracy. If you're the best at your job, you get money. And you think that it's about if you're a woman, you should get more money. Actually, it's about whether you're better at your job. And unfortunately for you, the best thing for society to move forward is that whoever's best at their job gets more money. And you think that feminism has corrected that. Actually, money corrected it. And that's the problem.
This is similar to your point, right, about it's the marketplace, but your point is that to prevent it, you need to use force.
Can I take that on?
Rather than market. Do you want to take that on directly? About the,
Okay, so one, I think the free market sounds like a great idea, right? But again,
That's the only idea.
Sorry, is it my time to speak or is it yours? Okay, thanks. So the first thing is women wouldn't even be out of the home in the first place if it wasn't for feminism. Number one, to even be participating in the free market. And number two, I want to talk about a Harvard Business School study that is called Heidi Rosen. Heidi Rosen was a very successful Silicon Valley she was an entrepreneur, she was a VC, a venture capitalist. She used her network to, as a very smart person, she used her network to grow an insanely successful business. She was used at Harvard Business School as a business school case study. This was redistributed and her name was changed to Howard, and there was a poll taken with hundreds of students asking if they would rather Heidi or Howard be their boss, or basically just what the reactions were. Howard, he's a great guy, a really cool guy, I'd love to work with him. Heidi, nah, she's kind of out for herself. Exact same profile. Heidi's kind of bossy, she's political, right? That's why the free market doesn't correct things, because we have these implicit prescriptive narratives about gender and about what women should and should not do that, whether we like it or not, inform how we treat women and how women are treated by the free marketplace.
Okay, so direct response to that.
Yeah, please.
Direct response to that. Shoot.
Me?
You, sir? We'll bring you in.
I have so many direct responses, but for that one,
On the free market.
on the free, but what she just said about the study, and what it's actually studying is people's biases, right? And you can't claim that you're unbiased. Everyone has one. And by saying, "Oh, this group has a bias," and they said these comments about it, it's not proving anything about society being sexist towards women. It's just saying people have bias. Now, do they act on it or not? That's the question. Secondly, when it comes to wages, if I go for a job, there's no employer in this world that's going to say, "My God, you have a penis. I'm going to give you double the money I give a woman."
You work more
It's never going to happen, right?
Exactly.
That doesn't happen in our world, all right? Secondly, anybody who's CEO really wanted to be CEO. No one chose them because they were a man or woman. You don't get chosen to be CEO. You don't just like, oh, you have a penis and you look like good in a suit, so we'll make you CEO and that woman can't do it. My CEO is a woman. Most of the bosses in my company are women, right? Am I going to go into my office and say, how come I'm not CEO? They're all women run this company because of my sex? No CEO in this world will ever blame the world for them not achieving something in life. They own it themselves, they went out, they took what they wanted, and they got what they wanted. That's the
We can move on to more of a political leadership topic, unless anyone's bursting to say something. Okay. Can you shout it or do the
Yeah, I can
microphone?
shout, it's fine.
Yeah, we love the shouting.
I think that with regards to the notion, feminism hurts women, I think you can look at it in a way, in a sense, its focus. It has a focus in a way which actually does hurt women. And that is, it's not actually pro-women, it's actually just anti-men, predominantly anti-capitalist, anti-white and anti-West. And I think that's the main focus. Where do you look for the evidence for that? Like, for example, take the New Year's coordinated rape attacks in Germany, which were made by a certain subsection of society, but it's politically incorrect to talk about that. Also, there was the issue in the north of England, in Rotherham, with coordinated rape gangs against young women, young white women, and these were committed by Pakistanis. But it's politically incorrect to talk about that. So, and it doesn't quite fit the narrative of the sort of anti-West, anti-capitalist narrative of feminism. So they tend to avoid that. And I think that their neglect of such issues actually hurts women.
Can you balance something out?
Yeah, we all live in China and we've been talking about the West, so I think that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
People don't act on their biases. Has anyone ever been black in China or applied for a teaching job, but you're not friendly with compatriots? So let's think about that. People have these biases, but oh no, people don't act on them. Don't act on them. Come on, open your freaking eyes. Look around the world.
Everybody has a fucking bias.
Easily see from any WeChat post the hiring. Oh, we prefer you to be whatever skin, whatever, or even it can be in favor of women. But just the idea that people have biases and don't act on them in hiring is so absurd. You gotta be kidding.
Completely irrelevant. Entirely irrelevant.
Right, so to respond directly to that, actually, we're run by biases. The famous professor Daniel Kahneman, if you're familiar with him, behavioral economist, basically he revealed that we function in two systems, essentially, System 1 and System 2. System 2 is when we actually take time to think about things. System 1 is the one that operates and makes most of our decisions, which operates instantaneously. And essentially all of our sort of decisions, most of them are made there. So when you talk about bias, sure, there are biases that might, hurt women, but there are biases that hurt us in so many other ways. And to have a small movement just for a very small subset of those biases, it's quite ridiculous because you're not addressing the whole question. What was your other point? I don't remember.
That's your responsibility.
Let's take that on. Okay, you battle it out.
So, I just want to address something that he's just mentioned in terms of bias. He said that biases to women are a small subset of society. So you're saying 50% of our
No, that's not what I said.
of our population
Not saying that.
That's not what I'm saying.
Not what he's saying.
Can I clarify?
Let him clarify.
Can I clarify? Sorry.
You can clarify and you can take it.
If I express myself that way, then I'm sorry. What I meant to say is that in terms of biases, the biases against women is a very small subset of all the biases that we have. Very, very small subset. And so, and essentially all the ways we operate are dictated by biases. So to basically address this and say this is a problem means essentially you're saying that the functioning of a human being is a problem and we need to address this. Right. So I agree that it's bad if biases are hurting women and they're not getting into the positions they should be. But going at it straight from the perspective of this is just something that happens to women and biases is primarily a sexist thing. That is very ignorant, and that is the main point I have against feminism. It's ignorant because you do not actually look at the factual basis for your claims.
Okay. In 2 minutes, we'll have a 3-minute break. And there'll be a cool little feature in that break, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So in 2 minutes. So let's just wrap up this section. I'd like us to move on, I'd like us to move on to, it's similar to women in political leadership roles, brought up by Sheena and Maggie on this side. Is feminism helping or hurting women in terms of political leadership? Do you want to take us on?
I think, like Maggie said quite a few times, where would we be without feminism? We had, in the US, and I know we shouldn't try to focus on the US, but just as an example, Hillary Clinton was, in how long ever in the history of the US, the first female candidate. Would she have gone there if it wasn't for feminism? I don't know, I just think
Theresa May.
But do you have proof for that it was feminism?
She was married to
Oh, the US. Right.
Two.
She got there because she's a housewife.
3.
Okay, we're going to go to you, and we're going to go to you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand what you guys are going up with. I'm from India, right? And feminism, women's rights, yada yada yada. It's always been a trouble. But to be honest, we had one of the prime ministers was Indira Gandhi, who actually ran the whole country for years when women were not ever given any rights. And second, there was an Italian woman called Sonia Gandhi, who's not even from India, but she ran the country for 10 years. So I'm not sure if you really need the women who wants to take over the world, they can take over the world no matter what happens or not. And we are talking always about the past, but what you never got. 1918, it took you so many years to get voting rights, but women who wanted it got it. So I think you need to get it back. So, sorry about it. You have equal power as men, and everyone in this room. Do not distinguish between men and women. We respect every woman out here. And we don't want to dwell back in the past and say that women was discriminated. It could have happened, but today it's an equal world. Fight for it. We all are fighting for our living. Thank you.
Great.
So I think the question that's kind of being ignored a little bit here is reframing the debate topic as which type of feminism hurts which women.
Yes.
Right? And so we're treating this as a homogenous issue, and it's obviously not a homogenous topic. In certain countries, the developmental process has lagged, and they're at still perhaps a place where first or second wave feminism could be of significant advantage politically or economically. But in the United States, I would provide a counter hypothesis to Hillary Clinton in the sense that so many people perceive it to be an egalitarian country that the constant rhetoric that basically created an ideological tone within the campaign in which she harped on certain things like feminism and the deplorables who didn't acknowledge that created a huge amount of polarization in our country that the backlash of which was one of the primary causes of her loss, however. So, it matters where you're talking about, what type of feminism and which women are being hurt by what. And another thing on that point is the fact that any ideology that can be summed up in one word will tend to homogenize that conversation and prevent that dialogue, which I would argue actually hurts women.
Okay, and on that note, we will take a 3-minute break. Now, the fun feature is this. You've all got my WeChat, so you can all message me with one of two things. One is a question you want to ask. Maybe you don't know how to say it, you're a bit nervous, you can put that question in there and maybe I'll bring it up. Number two is a subtopic you want to see talked about. So there's so many of you, right? If I see a subtopic 6 times, we're going to talk about it. So a subtopic in this topic, whatever it could be, you want to see addressed in the second half, send that to my message. Send a message to my WeChat. 3 minutes, the toilets are out there, drinks are out there, 3 minutes, and we're back in here for the rest. Well done so far. Okay, let's everyone get back in the arena. Okay. Alright, I've received a whole load of messages. Somebody said, what is feminism? It's actually not a bad question. A few people said, talk about feminism in China. We're going to go off anything focused on China, just for safety reasons. We're not going to go close to criticise. There's so many things to talk about in this debate, so let's not criticise our hosts or run that risk. What I did get a message about, a few of them, was about sexual assault and rape. So let's get into it. I'm just going to open that up. And we heard some I can't exactly remember what, we heard some noise about sexual assault and rape from both sides. So on this topic, does a frontliner want to kick us off? Does feminism help or hurt women when it comes to sexual assault? Alright, somebody help? Go on, Maggie.
Okay, so I know that a lot of this debate is focused on the fact that for some reason people think feminism accuses all men of being rapists. I want to say that's absolutely not true. Feminism doesn't stand for anyone being raped. And regardless of the statistics, which do say that 9 out of 10 rapes in the United States, I will agree, in the United States is a man perpetrated against a woman, a female is a victim of it. So we will say that technically it is a women's issue, but it's not exclusively a women's issue. It's an issue for everyone. And we say that feminism is the reason why we have Planned Parenthood, who gives free contraception and free exams to people to women after they've gotten raped. We say that feminism is the reason why women are allowed to have abortions after they are raped or choose what they want to do with their body. But we believe that overall feminism doesn't believe in sexual violence against anyone, and that's a harsh stand. Up until 1993, it was still legal to rape your wife in the United States in some states. And we say that feminism recently, anyone who says that feminism hasn't done anything recently should look to that legislation, because feminism is the reason why rape has been criminalized and and sexual assault has been criminalized. And we're not saying at all that all men are doing this. We're not saying if you're a man, you're a rapist. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying that in the incidences when it does happen against a woman, no matter who does it, that she will be protected. If you can get on board with people being protected from sexual violence, then you can get on board with feminism.
Okay, so you say that if women are raped or assaulted, they will get help. But what about the men who are assaulted, raped? Do they get equally help? I don't think so. If you have seen the movie The Red Pill, it's basically an ex-feminist researching about the men's rights activists, I think. And what she found was kind of disturbing. There are so many centers that specifically, they claim to have men and women after they faced violence at home, rape, or whatever. But if men went there, they were sent away. They were only taking women. So in the US, I think there was only one center specifically for men who had been beaten up or raped by women. So I think that's inequality. And how does feminism help these men, actually? If you stand for equality, you should have both sides and not just focus on one.
Okay. Maggie wants a one-sentence clarification, and we're going to you.
Feminism supports all people who get sexual assaulted to get help. We're not saying it should only be women. There's no mandate that says only women should get help from being raped. That is totally erroneous, and that's not responding to anything we just said.
Okay.
Okay, well, just to say that in the end, I don't have any statistics right now, but women suffer violence from males, from men, and men suffer violence mostly from men as well. So the majority of people perpetrating violence are men, okay? From this, what I mean is that it would be more like a patriarchal problem, yes? Not all men, obviously, but then it's like, it's when we're talking about like social, what do you say that? Anyways, it's men perpetrating violence against men or women. So maybe we should aim at trying to change how gender roles act on us and modify them. I don't know if that's clear.
So you think that feminism helps in that objective or hurts?
Obviously, it obviously helps. Feminism is a social justice movement, and if it's transversal, it acts upon racism, upon ableism, upon everything else. So if it's done well, and upon capitalism, like radical capitalism that is actually very violent towards most of the people.
Okay.
Here, here.
Hey, rape is serious. Like it's really, really serious. If I had to scale, like, if I could define evil, I would put rape really, really up there, if not the top. And it deserves to be treated as a serious subject. I have met people who have confided their experiences with me, and you can't help but have a human connection to know that this is awful. And I wish it could be embraced by that on both sides. Maybe it's just the media I consume. Maybe it's my cultural background. But when I experience the perspective that labels itself as feminism, maybe it doesn't speak for feminism. I hear words like rape culture. I play video games and I hear like rape mentality. I hear ordinary interactions being labeled with the word rape. And to me it disgusts me to have something that is so traumatic and evil and serious as rape being trivialized in media, in social networks, everywhere. How can you value treating rape victims and completely devalue the seriousness of the term?
Is it your point that feminism does that or not?
Yes. In my experience, in the media that I consume, feminism devalues the word and the power and the experience of rape.
Okay, sir.
So just two things. The first is to just make the claim without any evidence that men are inherently overrepresented because of an inherent tendency towards violence. Also kind of belies the notion that there might be underrepresentation on the other side of this. I'm not going to cite any statistics. I will, however, cite anecdotal evidence that, myself, I've actually never abused anybody, though I have actually been abused and have not reported it. So at least that's one underreporting. The thing there is that there just happens to be less damage physically, and that's not a good or a bad thing. It is a true thing. So one might want to consider that idea. So that's an interesting element of this debate to consider. Another element of this debate to consider with respect to the notion of rape as a serious topic, it is obviously a serious topic. But the question is then, given the serious topic, or the seriousness of the topic, what are the appropriate means of a solution? And for example, in the United States, the appropriate means of the solution are not a series of lawless tribunals on college campuses with no actually beholden status to the law, or a series of our mainstream, or our responsibility as the mainstream justice system. That is an extrajudicial, completely inappropriate way of handling such a serious topic. And that's another thing that's not being talked about here. You can't just say rape is bad and therefore feminism is good. You must also prove that the means by which you're punishing rape are good for society and not over the long term bad for society, which is where I think you're failing miserably.
Okay, let's take that on with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, feminism is helping a lot, and I completely agree with you, Mike. Like, it's an awful subject to be talking about, but we're coming across it. And quite frankly, there should be huge amounts of support, whether you're male, female, any gender that you want to say, or whatever, wherever you're from, you should have that support. And unfortunately, feminism has grown to help women and support women from one side. And because of the way it's grown, it's helping women. And it's trying to help men as well, but it's not doing as an effective job. It's just a pity that there's not a similar support system that feminism is offering on the male side as well, that's been as effective as feminism has helped women. It shouldn't be a oh look, feminism's only helping women. But well, why isn't there a male equivalent helping the other side as well? Like it should be a comparable thing helping men and women. Like it's an awful subject. It should not be.
It's called the justice system.
But it's not. Obviously, you just said it's not effective, right? And it's feminism is
underreported. The justice system doesn't address it.
Not want an extrajudicial system.
If it's underreported for men and women, the judicial system can't address it, right? But feminism at least is pushing for policy that does that. Number two, no matter who you are, anyone in this room, if you got raped, you could go to Planned Parenthood, which was #1 on the feminist agenda. Men, women, transgender, no passport, illegals could be accepted by Planned Parenthood for full care, for free, and that is #1 on the feminist agenda, Planned Parenthood. And so we say that that helps everybody.
Yeah, I want to reply to your comment because of rape. It's your inflationary use of how you use the word rape. Because there's this TED Talk video of an American girl, and she says she was growing up in the States in a rape culture. And she defines it as a country that basically accepts sexual assault. I mean, this is totally ludicrous. And then there was also a case in Germany where a journalist said she was raped by a politician because he touched her shoulder and called her honey. She said she was raped by that guy. And this is your inflationary use of that word, which is basically really an insult for everyone who really got raped. Who is you?
It's every woman's favorite thing to pretend she's raped. Not, come on. Who wants to do this? This is negative attention on you. This is negative attention on another person. No one does this on purpose. Number two, misusing or abusing the word rape or overusing it. Unfortunately, the reason why it's overused is because actually that's how many people get raped. We say that the statistics are underrepresented for men and women. It is not overused. It is not overused.
I just want to know
that
women got raped.
Women's favorite thing is not
So
to
every
say that they
accusation is
like
valid, what you're saying?
that they
No,
got raped.
I never said that. Why did I say that? I never said that either. I never said that either.
Let me tell you a few statistics. Let me tell you a few statistics. In Afghanistan, women are raped for committing perceived crimes by men. That is their punishment. Okay? Mirror that to the West, where rapists go to prison. Okay? The 1 in 5 statistic that I talked about in my presentation was done by an online survey. Everyone who conducted that survey, everyone who partook in that survey was anonymous. None of the claims were verified. Less than 5,000 women participated. We are not living in a rape culture. This is ridiculous. People go to prison for rape. What? Can I just have a show of hands? Like what? Who went to an American university? Who went to? Okay, right. Who went to? Right. What kind of lunatics are your parents if they send you to a place where there is a 20% chance that you will be raped? This is on par with the Congo. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. And it absolutely inflates the idea of rape, which is a horrible experience that anyone has to go through. It's ridiculous, and I'm so sick of hearing it.
Final points up. You've got to shout it out.
I respond to her and fellow men. 1 in 52, right? Those are your numbers. So out of a campus of 10,000, that's still 2,000 women. That is not a small number.
It's not 1 in 5.
Right, so we don't need to worry about 5,000 women. And that's assuming your statistics are correct.
It's the Bureau of Justice, whatever, you know.
And going through the justice system. So Brock Turner got 6 months for rape. And is that your contention, that 6 months is...
No, my contention is that an ineffective system is better than a completely extrajudicial system.
No. The extrajudicial, it's not an extrajudicial system.
Oh, yeah,
it's advocates.
Oh, no,
it's advocates and allies.
Are most certainly by definition an extrajudicial system.
Is it my turn to talk, or like, are we...
You asked me a question, I'm answering it. And then
No.
My question is,
do you think 6 months is sufficient? Is it punitive?
No, this is not a case study in a specific case. This is a claim about
No, you were asking about like people go to jail. So a specific point to that is that somebody went to jail for 6 months.
Most of us are lost. So finish your point.
If the cure kills the patient, it is no cure, sir.
So rape for sick, but how is that a cure though?
Extrajudicial systems are a cure that will kill the patient.
Okay, so then to respond to that, an extrajudicial system is people lobbying that 6 months is not an effective term.
Specific example was campus tribunals, specifically advocated and almost implemented by the Dear Colleague letter of the Obama administration sent to every college.
Okay, so the entire Section 9
essentially
movement, which talked about universities not effectively dealing with rape on campus, and all the schools redrafting their sexual assault policies on campus to deal in response to a lobbying group that dealt with it extrajudicially. You're saying that's ineffective?
It's a problem. It is a problem that should be dealt with. It's not a problem that should be dealt with extrajudiciously.
Okay.
In a means that is unjustified and premature and leveraged.
But they're not
by administration.
Let's finish this.
The final point on this serious topic, and then we're going to move on to another topic. It's serious, but we're going to move on to other topics.
I can do it. Yeah, okay. So I'm all that, but I'm going to have to say. So, in a way that feminism, modern feminism in the West specifically, because I think we do need feminism everywhere else. So, specifically in the West, modern feminism does not help people who have been sexually assaulted. It doesn't help people who are about to be sexually assaulted, because it teaches women that you should just walk through that dark alleyway and wear whatever you want down that dark alleyway, because you're a woman and no one can tell you otherwise they're sexist. No, the reason you get told not to wear silly clothing out in public and walk through dark alleyways is because it's dangerous, obviously. And feminism has this way of teaching women that it's just okay to do whatever you want. And the biases which you mentioned earlier actually help women. It helps them a lot. Rape cases, if a woman is raped, it's treated a lot more seriously than if a man is raped. And let's talk about why women can just accuse a man of rape and then it's taken. There's no proof, it's just she's raped him, which is the case with the British women.
Okay, that's the bell. It is a serious topic. We have still got some hands up, so let's just go a little bit further, Yes, sir.
That point is just nonsense. The majority of women are raped by people they know. It's not an argument. Walking down an alleyway, a tiny percentage of women are raped by strangers. And women should be allowed to wear whatever they want to wear.
Hear, hear.
Okay. And if you've ever been to a rape trial, and I have seen a rape trial, the woman who is raped is destroyed by by lawyers who has her sexual history attacked, what she wore attacked. So it's just incredible to imagine as a woman to say that women can't wear what they like or go what they like or do what they like. It's crazy.
No, you can wear whatever you like, but there's risk involved with it. Just accept that.
Why should you have to accept that? Why should surely there's
Okay guys, how do we define rape? Rape is you want to have sex with somebody without her permission or against her will, his or her or whatever. With or without violence. Come on, I can be a rapist even, okay, I put that girl, I put something in her drink and put her in a coma and have sex with her. That's a crime. That's a really rape, right? For me, feminism at least apply a probability or a slightest chance to a conservative Mormon women or a extremely conservative Muslim women to wear bra in the public. At least only a chance for imagination. That's also beautiful. Come on, the principle of feminism for supporting this kind of women, it should be, I can be slutty, you cannot be cocky. 我可以骚，你他妈不能饶。
Okay, final topic is a serious topic. The final word on this topic, and we're on to the subtopic.
Why is it not okay for women to wear something skimpy down like a dark alleyway at night? Like, why does that increase? No, Like, why does that increase the chances of a woman getting raped?
It doesn't.
Sorry. It doesn't.
But if a man is like, I don't know, shirtless or whatever, like, why does that not increase his chances of getting raped?
So I think you're addressing some kind of biological facts that we have to take into account, which you mentioned.
Oh, that men rape? That's the biological fact?
Actually, yeah, it is.
All men rape.
No, it's just
biological. What biological fact are you talking about? Our evolutionary history matters.
Right. So, before you interrupt, I want to clarify. When I say that, when I refer to biological facts, what I'm talking about is that if you consider human beings just another species, right, which we are.
Rational, please.
Sorry?
Rational.
Rational. Yeah, exactly.
Partially rational.
What I'm saying is that through the course of evolution, we have been conditioned, we have evolved into being more aggressive, right? And the men who are able to reproduce are the ones who are able to inseminate most women. Naturally, there is a driver of this kind of rape instinct in men, right?
It's called misogyny.
What?
Misogyny.
Yes, I say it exists. It
Can
exists.
you simplify that a bit? Sorry.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that basically, the man who manages to have sex with the most women, right, is the one who will pass on his genes. Okay? So because of that, the natural driver is that men will, the men who actually manage to reproduce are the ones who have a tendency to, reproduce the most. If they take that by force, well, so be it. If that achieves the goal, it does. So the point is, I'm not saying that's right or wrong at all. I'm not saying it's wrong. But I'm it's definitely wrong. It's definitely wrong. But what I want to exemplify here is that biological fact does not say anything about what should or should not be. What it does say is what is our point of departure. Where are we starting from? And if you do not address that, then you cannot hope to arrive at any proper conclusion. Feminism is faulty because it does not address these biological facts. This one, perhaps. But if you look at things like, for instance, men's spatial ability is better than women. They are more dispositioned to enter STEM fields. Women have better capacity for empathy. On average, I'm not saying this applies to you at all, because you're individuals. So, but on average, that applies. And feminism is faulty because it ignores these facts. Actually, it is not much better than, a movement like the climate skeptics, because they are by definition ignorant of facts.
Okay. I'm just going to try and clarify what Lars said. So basically, your point is, Lars, that you believe that it's not right for most of the rapes being done by men. That's not right. But you're saying that it's because when men do bad things, some of those bad things are rape. When women do bad things, they're other things, but they're not necessarily rape.
Basically what I'm saying, this is a huge problem. We need to address it. I don't think feminism is doing a good job because it is basically, it is not a good movement. It ignores basic facts, and it's a very emotional movement.
Again, it's not addressing the problem, but the problem exists when men actually rape more than women. When they do bad things, maybe women, when they do bad things, do something else. I think I get it. Final point on this one. You should outsay. Shoot it out.
Thank you. I'd like to say, at least in the United States, rape is defined legally as a man penetrating a woman. A woman cannot legally rape a man in the United States. It is sexual assault. They're slightly different, but I just want to clarify for everyone. Because legally speaking, they cause a lot of different ramifications. And as a result, we kind of have to parse that or separate those kinds of facts. And we need to speak a little more clearly with each other. Because rape is one thing, and sexual assault is another. Sexual assault can happen to both people. Sexual assault is a lower crime than rape is, at least in the United States. I can't speak for every country, but in the United States, sexual assault is significantly less punitive, both in terms of time, ability to defend yourself, than rape is. And in a lot of instances...
Okay. Thank you. So, I think we could have actually an entire debate on sexual assault. And that was a long period, but it was tense and serious, but that's what big debate's all about. Alright, let's move on to a slightly more light-hearted subtopic. But just a quick reminder, my name's Liam McManus, I'm your moderator for this evening. The motion is Feminism Hurts Women, and in 2 minutes, it's that time ready, in 2 minutes we'll have one volunteer frontliner doing a 2-minute closing statement, and one volunteer frontliner against the motion and for the motion doing an uninterrupted 2-minute closing statement, and one volunteer from the audience for the motion and against the motion. So, can I ask, think about that, if that's you, have a little mental preparation. So, the final topic I want to bring up is, I got this message twice, was about, I think both sides can agree, tell me if I'm wrong, I think both sides can agree that feminism aims to empower women to achieve more in their careers. You agree on that?
Yep.
It aims to do that. Whether
they want.
Whether it's successful or not.
It's a choice.
Whether it's successful or not, it's different. But the question I got was that, is this necessarily good for women? The question was, is focusing on your career, rather than focusing on your family, a choice that hurts or helps women? Anyone want to take that up? Let's have, okay, shoot it out.
Does feminism help careers, or does feminism...
Okay, hands up. The question was, feminism empowers women to do better in their careers, but is this objective good for women, empowering women to do better in their careers and focus less on family? That was the two questions. The career versus family, is that a good thing? Let's have a voice we haven't heard too much. Right, yourself, sir.
Right, well, I think that actually feminism does harm to women in the sense of their natural biological role, in which it actually belittles it. Because women, I mean, I've seen graffiti in some places which says woman does not equal mother. Now, what's wrong with being a mother? Some people want to be a mother, but it seems to, feminism as it is, it seems to belittle that and say that it's not worth as much as it actually is. It's one of the most, well, it's the most important thing that you can do in life, as far as I'm concerned.
You disagree with that?
I do, because not all women want to be mothers. There's so much societal pressure on women to be mothers. There's this whole idea that that's our biological, like, you know, we're all ticking time bombs to like freak out if we don't have children by the age of 35. I think it's not whether it's good or bad. I think it's just good because it gives women the option. Not all women want to sit at home and raise children. And at least feminism gives us the option to go to work. You know, before that, we didn't have an option, but now we do, and I think that's the important point. Option.
Men have options, why don't they have Because this chap and this lady came here together. They might not leave together, but they came here together. Alright, who wants to comment on this? Who's that? Yeah?
Old boys, I know. So, one interesting thing here is that we don't do a very good job of actually assessing values, generally speaking. Like, in terms of a career, that's a very narrow band of how we actually assess social or personal value systems. It's usually denominated in money or currency, which also doesn't say much about how you actually contribute to society. So, for example, take a teacher. A teacher's value in terms of doing a good job of actually creating an amazing student over the entire course of that student's life is a massive economic impact. She or he captures very little of that economic impact, for example, right? So we don't measure what the impact of any particular type of contribution that might also be like a tendency towards female careers or female contributions or female preferences. Most frequently, because the work hierarchy has been a male hierarchy for so long, it tends to overvalue male traits as opposed to female traits, and therefore encouraging women to also place a premium on male traits as opposed to embracing things that they might also be able to contribute uniquely and recreate a better system of human value creation professionally is bad for women and human society in general.
Okay, you said, chime in.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin exactly. Let's start from. So feminism is not about careers, it's about improving the life of women itself, right? And we were focusing a lot on careers and jobs. salary-wise, it might be the same maybe when we're applying for a job, but there's things that we're not considering, how we think in society. For example, a woman might naturally be asked if she's married, if she's planning to have kids, if she's going to be pregnant, these kind of things during a job interview. And I think this is pretty much making a distinction between the sexes. Other things that were said tonight were, think about great leaders. We touched a bit the politics. And great leaders mentioned were Gandhi, Clinton, so the wives of somebody who came before, or the niece of somebody who came before.
It's not mentioned as a great leader, though, Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi, in this case, right? So the point being that I believe the problem is radicated in the society and in the way that people think and act on an everyday basis. It's not simply talking about the opportunities and careers and jobs and so on. Feminism has achieved, in my opinion, a lot, and until there will be differences, it will always have a reason to exist. Of course, it's egalitarian.
Okay. Let's have a final word on this until we go to closing statements.
We're talking about career life, which is a little bit of a question there. But in general, I just kind of want to ask the speakers here, maybe each of you can in maybe one sentence say, I guess for the feminists, in maybe one sentence, maybe could you say if and how feminism makes you happy? And then for the other side, if and how identifying as not feminist makes you happy.
Hey, alright then, that's not bad. Alright then, we're going to start one by one. It is one sentence. If you go over one sentence, I'll just cut you off. Well, how does feminism make you happy?
It makes me happy because I feel that with feminism, people are getting an equal opportunity.
Thank you. Sheena, how does feminism make you happy?
Can I say my sentence to Maggie?
You can say your own sentence, Sheena. You can do it.
Because I'm a woman now, and I'm still weaker.
Oh, selfish.
Yeah. No. I feel I'm still weaker than it's still a boys' club right now, especially in China. So that's why, yeah.
Thank you. Maggie.
One sentence.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on refining it right now.
I'm done. Next.
Because. Nice. I'd like to point out that we haven't had very many women interrupting people during this debate. Anyway.
That's a little sexist.
Okay. One sentence. Let's go.
Because feminism is good for everybody, and I want everyone's daughter, sister, mother, spouse, lover, any woman you know to live her life to its fullest potential.
Okay.
Feminism only wins when women lose.
Yeah!
One sentence.
So feminism moves the discussion away from gender equality and equal opportunities to something that is very fringe and that really is baseless in the sense of there are no facts that support the claims that they're purporting.
How not being a feminist makes me happy. Okay, so I don't consider myself a feminist, but I've reached everything I ever wanted. And I know I can reach more if I wanted to, but I don't think I need feminism for it. I can do it with my own.
That was a nice little feature. Maybe we'll have that in every debate. It's good, Jen. Okay. So let's take volunteers from the audience. If there's lots of hands, I'll just pick the first most attractive person I see. So, hands up if you want to have a 2-minute uninterrupted closing statement arguing for the motion, feminism hurts women. Hands up. For the motion. For the motion, feminism hurts. For the motion, feminism hurts women.
Come on, you're gonna do it. You got to do it.
Okay.
I always do.
Hands up if you want to do a 2-minute closing statement against the motion, feminism hurts women. Saw your hand, sir. You two are booked in. Who's the frontliner for this team? This team is standing. Okay. We start off with the volunteers and then with the frontliners. So let's have Alex first. Everyone give Alex a round of applause. He has 2 minutes.
really reasonable to say for everyone that feminism is an amazing thing. Like, we can all say that feminism is a brilliant thing and has achieved a lot in our lifetime. But if we're going to say feminism hurts women now, it is hurting women now. Because of all of the things we've had already. Like, feminism can be disgusting and can be awful, just the same as misogyny can be disgusting. And I think they're right, they're saying that it's horrible, the patriarchy and all this stuff. Actually, it's awful. But feminism is one of the worst things that's ever happened to society. I'm going full blown now. No, I think it's fine, but... I think that we've had this talk about the wage gap that's kind of been debunked and will carry on to be debunked for the next 10 years. And some of you guys are going to hear about the wage gap for a while and you're going to go, okay, it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. It exists, and they think it exists, but it doesn't happen. And the people that think it happens, they want to believe something for the benefit of their own doubt. And actually the wage gap is nothing. And actually feminism is something that enables women because it benefits them. Because they want to be the victim. The victim doesn't matter. Feminism shouldn't exist anymore because women are already equal. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Alex. And we have arguing against the motion, 2 minutes uninterrupted, against the motion that feminism hurts women. It's uninterrupted. We have, it's David. Round of applause for David.
So the fact that you have a man in a public space who can yell out and interrupt women all the time and scream out and yell, and then come up for a public speech and give a bumbling, barely comprehensible statement, and to do so publicly, I mean confidently, in a public space, Exhibit A, is a sign for why you need feminism, and it's a sign of how unchecked male privilege goes rampant. The bottom line, he's still clapping, he's still mediocre, but that's what patriarchy allows men to do, to be mediocre and still have power. So, Exhibit A, talk to the gentleman after the debate. You'll find out more, I'm sure. When somebody asked our speaker, why does feminism make you happy? He was over there saying, because you can get some pussy. Mediocrity. That's what patriarchy allows for. The bottom line is, without feminism, you could not even have women speaking in public, in the public sphere. Check your facts and get with the history. That's what the feminism movement is. Everybody here debating against feminism is maybe debating against some feminist that they've met, or some caricature.
Everybody's sexist!
Some caricature of feminists that they've met in the public sphere who might be the way they are because they've encountered too many douchebags like the guy in the corner back there that have had too much influence over their lives and that have been elevated ahead of them because they're men, and that have been the cool bro ahead of them because they're men. Without feminism, women would be raped with impunity. They'd be raped by their husband.
Bullshit.
So for the next speakers, your task is to come up here and to explain. We know that there's a past of sexist oppression. Fuck you too. Oh! There's a past of sexist oppression. Go ahead, bro.
Let me kick your ass, buddy.
Male mediocrity.
Fuck you.
Threatening violence. Threatening violence. This is why we need feminism.
I rape you with impunity.
Okay, everyone just take a breather. Take a breather.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
Bowen, show us your muscles, Bowen. Because this man's going to get involved if things get hairy.
Speech, not violence.
Alright,
Speech.
take a breath. So, let me remind you, it's uninterrupted. These final 2 2 minutes are uninterrupted. Let's have. He knows what he's doing? Okay. Arguing for the motion. Finally, feminism hurt. By the way, we've run over time. That's our fault. We started late because of the rain. But thanks for all staying here and sticking out. So, arguing for the motion, we have Helena, 2 minutes, uninterrupted. Round of applause.
Okay, so the feminists start to talk about historical oppression of women. I'm going to give you 2 words. The draft. The draft. Imagine going off to Vietnam against your will as an 18-year-old boy to probably be killed. That's oppression. That's the biggest oppression you can ever face. If you put me in a time machine and said you can put me, you can get put down anywhere in the world, anytime, you just have to be woman, but there is one condition. There is one condition. You have to be working class, right? Do you want to be male or female? You want to be male? I choose woman every single time. You know why? Because I would rather be barefoot and pregnant than getting shot in a fucking eye and having my head cut off with a fucking sword fighting against the enemy. Okay? Feminism makes weak women. Stop telling young women these absolute lies that put them off men and put them in safe spaces with puppies and crayons. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Women are strong, women are powerful. They are just as powerful as men. You telling them these lies is only infantilizing them and taking away their agency. Again, any woman in here who identifies as a feminist, I honestly advise you to go on a feminist detox. Go on a 30-day feminist detox. Come back to me and tell me how much more enlightened you feel. Tell me how much more happy you feel, and tell me how much more free you feel. Because I'll tell you something, dropping feminism is the best thing I ever did. I make more money now, I'm in a better position, and I feel happier, and I feel lighter. Because I don't have the so-called patriarchy, who actually, by the way, doesn't give a shit about you. No one cares enough about you to stop you achieving your dreams. People are busy with their own life, okay?
And finally, arguing against the motion, feminism hurts women. We have 2 minutes, we have Maggie. Round of applause for Maggie. Okay, the time starts now.
Okay, so the definition by the Oxford Dictionary is feminism, the social, political, and economic equality of sexes. So anything they said about gender equality and feminism being different, let's just dismiss that now, let's squash that, that's wrong. Number 2, I'm standing here happy, alive, I am a feminist, I'm happy about it. It doesn't make people miserable, it doesn't make everyone miserable. I'm also saying here, let me respond here to 2 things, is working class women. She says feminism is not for working class women. Well, feminism advocates for women, and women are 75% of the world's poor, so you talk to me about that later. Okay, number 2 is, let's talk about on rape, okay? So as humans, we're defined as humans by being able to control our impulses against animals, but they would say, right, they would say that men are biological, they're making all these biological arguments, but before they were making these arguments that we don't need feminism because we've developed so far, so which one is it? I'd like you to answer me that. Number 2, we would like to say that male sex drive doesn't amount to a right to have sex with anyone you want. Number 3, we would like to say, stop dressing like a slut, stop thinking like a rapist. How about that? Number 4, we say that to their lack of facts point, okay, so number 1, the fact that women can't do math was debunked in the 1880s when women were allowed to go to Oxford. Number 2, lack of facts, look at this. That's right. Okay, number 3, let's talk, okay, ironic from the person who said he was unprepared for the debate. Number 3, okay, so now let's talk about if feminism matters today. I've already given you lots of statistics about why feminism still matters today, okay? And now, we want to say, why not men? That's not the motion. The motion is, does feminism hurt women or not? We say, and also number 2, we support men. Feminism is not against men. We don't know why you think that. It's fundamentally incorrect. We support paternity leave. We support we support Planned Parenthood, which accepts men if they get raped. So we say that we win this debate on all accounts. Those are all the clash points. And if you are a woman sitting here today, you're sitting here because of feminism. And overall, that is the biggest benefit of women being able to participate in conversations like this, where decisions happen and ideas are created and ideas are calibrated. That is why feminism matters, and that's why we win.
Thank you, Maggie. And that concludes our big debate on the motion, Feminism Hurts Women. So now we have our final vote. So everyone can get your phones out again, get into WeChat, find my cute little face, Liam, Irish White, and you want to do one of three words: for, against, or undecided. For, against, or undecided. Okay, is everybody voting? Oh no. Hands up for voting. Okay. We'll count the votes for we'll count the votes for 2 minutes. But first. Okay, we're going to count the votes for 2 minutes. While we're counting the votes, we'll announce the results in 2 minutes. Alex, thank you. We'll announce the results in 2 minutes. But first, it got a bit hot, it got a bit tense. I need everyone to help me in a light-hearted activity. Can everyone give me a hand? Can everyone help me? My female girlfriend came in tonight. It's her birthday, she can't speak English. Can we all sing happy birthday to her in Chinese? 1, 3, 2, that means a lot, we're all friends again. 2 minutes, we'll announce the results. And the next big debate online and live. Get a quick drink, 2 minutes, don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying so late. tonight's big debate is on the motion, feminism hurts women. The winner is... I'll tell you that in just a second. First, our next big...
Stop debating.
Our next... It's good we've all got stuff to say. Our next big online debate, which will be in a separate WeChat group, which you can all join, is on the motion, some crimes deserve death. For, against, or undecided. Some crimes deserve death. For, against, undecided. That is our online big debate. And our next live big debate in the Camel. The online big debate is this Sunday, 6 till 9. The live big debate is next month, October the 18th, in the Camel. And that is on the motion of another one, but this will be less controversial. This is a very soft topic. People are too comfortable being fat. A non-controversial one. We have a creators of big debates group which all of you can join, and that was lots of feedback came from people that put input into big debates, and that was one of the ideas that came out of that. Okay, are the results ready for tonight's debates? Almost. So if you want to join the creators of big debates group, you can message me, and that's where we'll choose a lot of our topics and motions, like the last motion, and that is where we'll do links to all the online debates too. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. So we'll look at the first results of the first vote first, and results of the second vote second, and it's the biggest change in votes that wins. Not necessarily the highest amount of votes at the end, but the biggest change from first vote to second vote. That will determine which side debated better on the night. The biggest change, who changed the most minds. Okay. The results of the first vote are... For the motion, 32%. Against the motion, 39%. Undecided, 29%. Pretty tight. Which is the biggest change in votes? Let's see. For 29%, against 66%, undecided 10%.